Starting on time. Trying the camera in a little spot, different spot, because I can tonight, because I don't have to run out. At least I shouldn't, for any reason. This probably won't work once I have to give kisses goodnight and everything. I would say Wednesday, but actually Wednesday I have to cancel. My daughter's getting inducted into a honor society at her college, so I have to be there that night. And I don't think I will be home. Well, I know I won't be home in time to start the stream at its normal time. That's a certainty. But I honestly don't think I'll be home at all that evening. So I'm just betting on that. So Wednesday will be canceled, and I'd say I could try to make it up on Friday, but I know that's not the case either, because since my wife saw me do such a good job at my folks' house, painting their room, I'm painting in this house again. Yay! Fuck! Anyway, so there, the jovial shit's out of the way. It is a very sad day. If you're not aware of this news, I don't know what, like, literal rock you must be living under, but a literal legend in the comics community passed away. And I don't talk a lot about I might mention like the comic book I did for Preston Steve and stuff, but I don't tend to talk a lot about my comics influence when I was younger. Really how important Stan Lee was growing up. I mean, he's much more of a household name now, which is really cool. I mean, he always kind of was, because even if you were watching like the old cartoons, like the old Hulk cartoons and stuff, I'm talking shit that was done in the 60s that came back usually in the 80s, or even the 70s cartoons, I think, was where they came out. Maybe they were a little better, animation-wise. But, I mean, you always, hey, true believers, it was, that voice was unmistakable. I mean, even when I was a kid, you know what I mean? Like, you heard that voice come over the TV, and it's like, Spider-Man's coming! Like, Spider-Man and his amazing friends, Like, it was beautiful. And nowadays, I mean, like, everybody, if you've seen a Marvel movie, you've seen him and you know who he is. And that's great. And there's all sorts of debates that people, if you're within the comic community, could have regarding his legacy. Sometimes being a little overinflated, because there were things that most certainly he had definitely a hand in creating, certainly in crafting the storylines behind them. Or at least the dialogues. But Ditko and obviously Kirby had huge parts in the stuff we always attribute solely to Stan. But still, you can't deny his part. You can't deny what Stan had huge elements into him. I'll be honest, it's one of the regrets I've ever had, that I never seemed to be able to get to a convention where he was at. That, unfortunately, maybe health issues ended up taken away from. Because I think he was at a Baltimore Comic Con, or was supposed to be there. But he had some health stuff, like it was at one I was at, I should say. And there's been a bunch of Baltimore Comic Cons, but there's one I was at that I think he had some health issues, so he didn't stay on the floor and do the signings that they had originally intended to. And this is, God, it's like probably 12 years ago. So it's quite a sad day. Because for me, as a kid, I mean, Stan was editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics when I was really collecting, as a kid. I spent a stupid amount of money on comics in the 90s, you know, as everybody did, unfortunately. Huge X-Men fan. I'll say, if you're, especially here, focusing on art, for all my non-viewers, oh, you know, look up, update the information. Let's update. I have 2 artists. I didn't realize I had 2 artists. That's awesome. Somebody else ordered this one. AWOL 2113. At 213. Thank you. Who knows that? Apologize for not noticing that sooner. Anyway, if you are interested in some of the stuff that Stan did, because the thing is, I mean, there are times, I think, there was definitely a time where I think Stan thought just a comic book writer, you know, and he didn't realize how big it was at first. But Stan also, at the same point, definitely had an amazing love for the industry. So there's like sometimes, especially I guess years and years ago when it had still had a stigma, it was like, oh, I'm a comic book writer, that kind of thing. And he did do stuff that made him excited, but I think still he was like, I write comics, you know. He was always trying to get, I think, more Hollywood-y. So the Marvel movies are obviously a realization of those goals. But Stan knew his shit about the comic book industry. If you ever want to see some really cool stuff, where is that book? Hold on here, I gotta figure out where I left it. I didn't put it back, did I? Again, I know I have nobody here watching it, so this is for the YouTubers, I guess. This book is unbelievable. This is the shit you should be listening to. I know it's like some of the layouts and stuff and the way that comics are drawn, that's a little different now. But there's still so much good stuff in here. And there's stuff in this that, I'll be honest, when I was a kid and I wanted to break into comics, I ignored, and I shouldn't have ignored it. Like the first few chapters of this, they talked about just drawing basically like simple shit. Like drawing lamps, drawing tables, drawing, you know, cups and saucers and all that crazy shit. And, like, seriously, pay attention to it. Because that's stuff that, if anybody's interested in comics and how to draw actual comics and good comics. Because there's a lot of people that still do like 90s style, like half-assed backgrounds and shit. And it's bad storytelling. That book's fucking amazing. And they have a video version of it. I found it on YouTube a while back. It's definitely worth checking out. It was just amazing. And Stan's hosting it, and it's got all, and literally that book is basically a script. There's very little variation between what's in the book and like what's actually said in the video. I've had this book a very long time now. I don't even know if does it have the print date? This version, this print date's 84, I think. I got it a little bit after that. I think I got it, like, I might have had it in like 1986 or something. I might have been 8 or 9 years old. So it was I've lived with that book a very, 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 very long time. But it's a book worth having if you can get a copy of it. I said some of the stuff about layouts are a little different because the panels are still laid out very, you know, basically like this grid right here. Like it's like, you know, here's 8 panels across the page, and that's all you should, you know, blah blah blah. They're all the same size, and Whereas now, much more comics are much more dynamic. But basic stuff about storytelling is so important, and there's so much good shit in there. And you know, like I said, if you're interested in comics, or even, I mean, it still holds true even if you're not talking about comic books. It's talking about, you know, like if you're going to do a still life, about learning how to draw, you know, bottles and you know, lamps and all that fun stuff. You know, and trying to figure out how to do it. You know, like, if you have any interest in any representational work, it's a good book still. Like I said, there was stuff regarding the storytelling bits that when I was younger I didn't pay attention to, and I really wish I had. I think it would have made a big difference when I was trying to break into comics and stuff. I mean, I eventually started doing it, but I think I was so far behind the ball that, like, even though I really worked on my storytelling to almost a maddening degree, like, I was always, when it came time to finally do the Preston and Steve comic book for WMMR, I was, like, so absolutely obsessed with making sure that, like, if these characters were, like, in this spot in one panel, they were in that spot, you know, when you switched it around, the camera jumped over this way, you saw those people in the same place. My is me. So you know what you can do if you don't like what you see. Kiss me, I'm Irish. I am the wild rover. My eyes, they are smiling, and I'm seldom sober. I like my whiskey, and I love to dance. So if you're feeling as lucky as me, take a chance and kiss me, I'm Irish. My heart beats a jig, blood it flows green. I've been a rambler from ocean to sea, and I like a bevy now and then that I'll never deny. But I only drink on the days of the week that end with a Y. I know since I'm no sinner, on that there's no doubt. To tell you the truth, I am the one that your grandmother warned you about. Kiss me, I'm Irish. I am the wild rover. Trying to think of some other stuff that, like, I'm just trying to think of Stan today. Because it was such a, like I said, it was a big thing. There's, what was it? What was the series called? I think it was called Comic Book Greats. There were a series of videos that came out in the 90s. And again, I'm going to say, you can take some of that video with a grain of salt. A lot of it focused on anatomy and character design and stuff like that. There wasn't so much, or not a lot of storytelling stuff that was done. And the guys they were having do the storytelling bits, even when they did do it, you're talking like McFarlane and Liefeld and even Lee at the time. They weren't good storytellers. As far as if you looked at a comic book page without words, you might not actually know what's happening there. Lee was good. He got better over the time. Liefeld was a mess. Always was. Still is. McFarlane he came and went sometimes with the way he tells stories. So like I said, you can take some of that stuff with a grain of salt, but it is a cool series, and again, Stan hosts it, and he I mean, he was a fucking barrel of personality, you know. So, I mean, it's always entertaining. So, I can't argue about that at all, you know. So, like I said, if you're in the mood for some good Stan Lee stuff, and I still think that Marvel, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way video is actually better, only because it's Stan at his most selling. And that may sound weird, because honestly I usually hate pushy salesmen, but Stan could be a pushy salesman for Marvel and not sound annoying. You know, he dug it, and oh, the marvelous Marvel way, and it'd over alliterate everything, and it was like, I would say recommend that video. I mean, he does it a little bit in the comic book greats videos from the 90s, but that video, which I think was an early 80s video too, like, I mean, it was a few years after that book, so the book came out in 78, that copy's 84, so it was probably around the same time. But that How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. And it's funny because, is it Strike? No, Buscema. John Buscema's in there. That's it. Buscema's in there. And Buscema's sitting there. There's a couple points where you can tell Buscema's just sitting there like he wants to do his part. He's just like, Stan, shut the fuck up. Like, he's just looking at John and he's just, we got it, Stan. Like, you know, but it's so funny. So anyway, and one more little weird recommendation: check out the epic rap battles between Stan Lee and Jim Henson. It's not them, obviously, but it's very good. The way they resolve their difference. It starts off harsh, and then the way they resolve it's very cool. It was actually one of the more you know, entertaining and sincere at the same time. It's a little weird. It's probably I'd put it as my second favorite epic rap battles. Probably the only one that beats it, I still think, is Bill Nye the Science Guy versus Isaac Newton. But that's because you can't deny Weird Al Yankovic's jumping in there is amazing. Again. This is the end. Here we go. That's funny. When I was in, like I said, when I was younger, I wanted to draw comics so bad, and I was just like, I was creating characters left and right that were all clones of other characters that had already existed. You know, I mean, like, but they're original ideas. This guy he's like Wolverine, but he's meaner. You know, like that type of, 14-year-old, like, yeah. But it was like I was like, man, I want to be like the next Stan Lee. I want to create all these characters and have a fucking huge comic book universe of my own. Man, it was amazing. As I said, I never want to downplay the other guy, so I don't want to say I know Stan. Oh, Stan created Spider-Man. Stan didn't do all these by himself, and as much as a lot of people may know him for doing it, there were other there were other issues. What eventually became a very harsh dispute between him and Kirby and the Kirby family too. It was there was rough times because again, Jack didn't get near as much. In the industry, those that worked there knew how much Jack did. And gave Jack credit where Jack deserves credit, but necessarily as far as the dollar signs go from the heads of various groups, especially when Stan was editor-in-chief of Marvel, you know, yeah, Jack didn't get his due. And, you know, go the same for Ditko and the stuff he did for Spider-Man. Because keep in mind, comics back then really was a different animal compared to what it is nowadays. Nowadays, for the most part, you know, you get a script if you're an artist, unless you're an artist-writer, you're going to be given a script, you know, which anymore from what I've seen from sample scripts and stuff, they're really complicated scripts. They are, you know, I want you to picture this Air Force base with this, you know, but it's Ferris Air, and you know, and Hal Jordan's flying this specific plane, and it's really narrowed down to especially the big writers, like Jeff Johns or you know, anybody wants to see a crazy script. And I don't think there's actually too many physical copies of it that you can find, but there's a shot of one. I can't reach it because the camera's now my way. From the book Watching the Watchmen, which is by Dave Gibbons, and he shows like an Alan Moore script, and he just shows like basically issue 1, and that's like 90 pages for issue 1 of Watchmen, and it's got the breakdowns of how many things are in there, and it's like, but back when Stan was doing the Marvel, you know, literally making the Marvel universe with Ditko and Kirby and Buscema and all those guys, for the most part, the reason Stan was the writer on like 13 books was the artists were sitting there coming up basically with the plot. They're drawing the plot, okay, you know, the Fantastic Four, Galactus is coming, and I'm going to draw Reed, and he's going to come up with this machine over here, and he's going to do this thing. You know, and they're going through the pages, and they're just drawing it out. And then Stan would come in, and, you know, okay, he's going to say this here, he's going to say that there, here's the word bubble explaining this is New York, this is, you know, and I mean, he wasn't lettering it per se, but he was, here's what the script's going to say. So here's what the dialogue is stating. But really plotting, 9 times out of 10 fell on the artist. Didn't fall on the writers. So that's what I mean when I said like, and I want to reiterate, I am not downplaying Stan Lee's role in any of this. Please, God, do not think of that. It's just that, you know, it's a complicated history, and it's really kind of it's really actually interesting. It's really actually quite interesting and thought provoking, and you end up actually coming out of it in a weird way, understanding and respecting everybody involved. You know, a little more. It plays out a lot like if I had to find like another version like this kind of thing, I would say it's like Wozniak and Jobs. You know, like Steve was definitely, you know, he had ideas. He had a great number of ideas, and he was definitely an idea man. But he also had that personality. You know, he had the salesmanship that I don't think Wozniak had. And I think Woz pretty much admits that. And Stan was the same way. You know. And I think that's one of the things. It's like you kind of notice that without Stan, you know, and you don't get the Marvel comics that ended up coming to be at all. You know, as I said, you can argue left and right about how much he actually created of each character that he definitely had a part in. You could have that argument, and you could probably argue that for years and never come to a full real resolution on that with whoever you're arguing with. But I will easily go on record and state that without him, you don't get the Marvel comics of the 60s. You don't get the Marvel movies. You don't, like, it's just, that's just a flat out reality. Just because, again, he was that salesmanship that took a chance. You keep in mind that Stan started wanting to tell very serious stories, you know, and you know, the verbiage and stuff that was done was still very aimed towards younger readers, I guess is the best way to put it. But he was out to tell serious stuff. I mean, if you hear his bio, and he talks about when he came up with the idea of what he wanted the Fantastic Four to be, you know, wanting them to be a family of heroes that fought with each other, that bickered, and all that stuff. Like, you know, that's a legit thing that was legitimately risky back then. I mean, comics are for kids, you know? And that stigma lasted for years. It's still around, really. I mean, it's a little more acceptable now because of the Marvel movies now. But it's still like I like the Marvel movies. Oh, do you buy comics? No. I don't buy the comics. Well, why not? I mean, if you like the movies, there's stuff that they've told in comics that they can't tell in movies because you just can't. You know, like, there's stuff that they literally can do in comics that you can't do in movies. And I'll go back to The Watchmen for this. One of my favorite issues of The Watchmen is Deadly Symmetry, I think is the name of the actual issue. And it deals with Rorschach. And it's also the same point when there's the assault on Veidt. I'm not going to really spoil, but there's little things in it. But if you look at that comic, and you can look at it in the graphic novel or whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really change anything. But if you look at that issue, break that down, just literally take that segment, if you've got the graphic novel, or take the comic, and go look at the front page, look at the back page. Look at the second page, look at the second to last page. And go back and forth, and if you pay attention to that book, the layouts are symmetrical. So the first page matches the last page. Second to last page matches the second to last page. Deals with Rorschach, it's dealing with Rorschach. When it gets to Veidt, it deals with Veidt, and it deals with Veidt on the back end. It's fucking insane. And there's no shortage. There's no way to say it any other way. I cannot imagine what that script looked like. I have to imagine Gibbons got that script and went, "Fuck, Alan, what are you doing?" Like, I just can't imagine any other reaction. Like, you know, he probably sat there and laughed at it, like, you know, in a similar vein to when my boss told me to call UPS and get them to reroute something. It's like, that can't be done. That's not a feasible thing. Because it's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. Anyway. I don't remember what I was tying that to stand with now at this point. I just start thinking about that comic and I immediately go elsewhere. It's like, I just picture getting that script when I was trying to draw comics, and it's like, oh, I wouldn't even want it there. I'd literally look at it out and go, I quit. I just quit. I don't know what to tell you. But like I said, Stan's Day, that wasn't quite the same thing. But I'll say this. Again, going to what he was trying to do, and at the time, how risky that was. That Stan's vision of this more serious comics that he eventually, created out of creating Fantastic Four and Hulk and all these guys. And think about creating Black Panther. I seriously, think about that for just a second. Just a second, because you've got to think about when he was created. All right? Like saying, giving the green light to a character named Black Panther while the Black Panther movement is fucking happening. Like, and it was way controversial at the time. You know, that was a serious. There were people that thought they were flat out terrorists in the white community, because that's still, you know, unfortunately there were still and still are a lot of racist pieces of shits out there. But you know, so here you come out with a comic book literally called Black Panther, and I mean, I have to imagine the shockwaves that must have happened, and like, you know, like just people like going, Stan, you want to print this? Like, you know, and I mean, yes, the character is very different, and if anything, the character is like just amazing for that time period, especially because here he's not just a African prince. He's an African prince whose technology blows every fucking thing away from the time, you know, anyone else around him, and he's a better fighter than half the people around him. He's, you know, like, that's huge. So again, and like I said, you put all that together, and without Stan, there is no Marvel Universe, no matter what you can say about all the other guys who had hands in creating, you know, Spider-Man and Fantastic Four and all this, you know. Without him, Marvel as we knew it, you know, or know it as it came to be in the 60s, does not exist. And without that, you don't get Watchmen, you don't get Dark Knight Returns, you don't get any of those more serious, like, definitely no longer for kids books. All because it's what Stan did in the, you know, in the 60s. And I will stand by that statement. You know, fight me on it. Like, there's no way you can beat that. I can argue all the other stuff, but without him, I won't lie. This is actually kind of shaking my ability as to whether or not I can actually finish this tonight, because I'm like so like on Stan right now. It's like I've just been thinking about it all day. I honestly feel bad for Pikachu. Because if you were paying attention to the internet today, the internet blew up because the Detective Pikachu trailer came out. Like, literally people were blaming Facebook going down for a little bit because of the Detective Pikachu trailer. And then Stan Lee dies. And it's like, well, there goes the Pikachu. You know, that's no longer the top story. It was kind of funny to watch it, you know, like, not funny. Like, it was for obviously a sad reason. But it was interesting. Let's put it that way. Interesting is a better word. To watch it literally, Detective Pikachu, Facebook down, people blame Detective Pikachu. And then, like, you literally watch it just fall off of the, like, I saw it on comicbook.com. It just seemed to, like, completely fall off the page because Stan Lee, you know, like, it's like, and it's, I mean, true, but it's just worth it, or deservedly so. I think what else I was doing today regarding this. I checked out a lot of, like I said, I have those old videos. I favorited and stuff on YouTube. So I was checking those out. But I also like checking out like some of the weird ones where little bits where he liked to laugh at himself, which is always good. Like Stan, in a lot of ways, even was aware of his own reputation as a, you know, as a sales guy. You know, like as a, you know. So, like, when he appeared on Robot Chicken a few times, they're good ones. I don't know. There's so much that I know everybody knows him from the you know, or I should say, a majority of people know him from his cameos in the Marvel movies. But you can find a shit ton of stuff. Shit, just watch him in Mallrats. Just that little bit. It's fucking great. I know Kevin Smith, you know, that was like a huge, you know, get for him for that movie. That's just, I don't know. There's so much good stuff out there that you can find right now, especially, you know, it's definitely, it's you know, a fandom mourning period. I was even laughing at, you know, I should say, can I get something laughing? Maybe it is. I don't know. I almost at myself in this case, where look, Stan was 95 years old. You know, there's no doubt, you know, not to sound morbid, but you're like, all right, time's coming sometime soon. And you know, and I paid attention to when I would hear stuff about health issues at conventions and you know, signings that were canceled and things like that. And it's like, it's been happening for years and more frequently. And yet still somehow the news came down and it was like, how the fuck did he die? Like, you know, like, you're like, how, you know, like it's almost unbelievable, like that, you know. And it's just funny. It's like, you know, and not like I said, it's like, it's just, it's strange. Like there have been celebrity deaths where it's like, and I'll say even younger star celebrity deaths where you hear about it and you go, well, I expected that. You know, they were a hard partier lifestyle, you know, da-da-da. Or you have a 95-year-old man who dies and you're going, no, how? I don't understand. I don't get it. Like, he can't die. He's Stan fucking Lee. And everybody, I guarantee you right now, like everybody watching Avengers 4, because they already shot the cameo, breaking down and crying. And that doesn't, you know, I guess he would have shot one for Captain Marvel too, which should be out sooner, right? But I think that it's because Avengers, they've said he did his one for Avengers 4. I think because people are like, that's going to probably be the last Stan Lee cameo that everyone's going to break down and cry. Though he might have done one for Far From Home too, I'm not sure. They said he did it for, and they were getting to the habit of where they were going to shoot 3 or 4 at a time, just to make sure they got the cameos done. There's a bunch of like floral stuff here, so I don't have details on what's happening bumping-wise here. Never say a word again. I will crawl away for good. I'll move away from here. You won't be free to fear. The thought was put into this. We always knew it would come to this. Things have never been so swell. I have never felt a fail. Pain. Pain. You know you're right. You know you're right. You know you're right. Someone come inside. I no longer have to hide. Let's talk about someone else. Staying up against the mouth. Nothing ever bothers her. She just wants to love herself. I won't move away from here. You won't be afraid of fear. If thought was put into this, always knew it'd come to this. Things have never been so swell. Something before I leave. make sure it's all set up before I go. I mean, not that I'm planning on cutting out soon, but I just want to make sure it's fresh. Got half an hour. Get some of this stuff done. But if I see it there already and like ready to go, I'll move. Oh yeah, I wanted to do that thing. So, and it will literally be right before we leave. I'm just gonna, last like 5 minutes or so. I hurt myself today to see if I still feel. I'll focus on the pain, the only thing that's real. The needle tears on the old familiar sting. Try to kill it on the way, but I remember everything. What have I become? My sweetest friend. Everyone I know goes away in the end. And you could have it on my empire. I will let you down. I will make you hurt. And again, I said I'm not going to get too much into ground clutter here. I'm just trying to catch your big pieces here. Like we're getting that big stick here. There's another little mossy patch. Get this up here. Ribbon beneath the stains of time. The feelings disappears. You are someone else. I am still right here. What have I become? My sweetest friend. Everyone I know goes away in the end. And you could have it on my empire of dirt. I will let you down. I will make you hurt. If I could start again, a million miles away, I would keep myself. I would find a way. Night and day, you are the one. Oh, you know I never put up. I apologize. Tell everybody on Instagram, come follow, pin along, troll along. And I put the Instagram, or the image. That'd be helpful, wouldn't it? And I'm gonna load up a couple other. Because now I'm in the mood for it. I don't need Facebook up. Let's go YouTube. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube later, You obviously have to check out the window, type this shit in, and pause the video. If you're jumping in, this will be up in the. Slamming on this point with him, but it's again, I really can't. I can't emphasize enough how much that book meant to me. And like I said, if I'd known there was a video version of it, I probably would have cheated and not read. But like I said, I'm going to bring the book out again. I just wanted to see if everybody could see this. Like, look how bad the binding is. Like, it's dog ears. It's miscolored. Like, I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I went. I was clearly eating at one point. Cheetos, I'm guessing, or something like that. Doritos, maybe. Like, I mean. The problem is, like I said, when I was younger, I was just so interested in the figure. I wasn't worried about anything else. So it was like, this thing didn't start until chapter 4 for me. Like, it was like, that was my mistake. But that video on YouTube, that's the same. It's like I said, it's almost word for word, almost the same thing as the book. The only thing that's I say is, again, entertainment value. And again, you have to love Stan's ability to just, the way he talks and sells things, but it is funny to watch Buscema and that. There's a few points where it's just like, Stan, shut up. Gotta show people how to draw. Shut up. Like, I don't know. It's just very funny. It's a really great video. And like I said, I don't even mind if people are leaving and go to watch it right now. Like, seriously, I don't mind that today. I get sad usually when it's like, there's nobody going to watch me. I'm trying to make good paintings. I know I suck, but I'm trying to make good stuff. But, like, I don't mind today. Go ahead and watch that video. It is very funny because it is very VHS-y, so there's a couple of, pause the video now and draw, like, I don't know. And I still watch stuff like that, like, when I can. Even though, like I said, I'm not really attempting to break into comics anymore or anything like that, but, like, I'll still watch anything about how to, how to draw, how to, I'm still nuts for it. I still want to, like, yeah. Because again, I went on this tangent. I think back in one of my first streams, I was doing the bridge. But I still love storytelling. It's one of the reasons why I still don't. Even though I have I've been working on this kind of idea that would definitely work more as doing abstract pieces. I feel like I want to find a way to make it work as a representational thing still, because it's still storytelling to me. I still want the viewer here to legitimately know what I'm going for. You know, like it's not that I don't believe that. My whole view on how art works and you know is always a little weird, and I know that. I'm of the firm belief the artist should always have a goal. We should be trying to make something. And even I'm going back to even someone like Pollock. Technically, was out to make an image. There was stuff he was, he'd do his splatter, but sometimes he'd cut up those canvases because he found an image somewhere. He was looking for something. But when it comes to communicating, and art is a tool of communication, and it's a tool of, again, storytelling. To me especially, it's always been my history is born in comics. When I was a kid, I had no interest in becoming a painter. When I was young, I wanted to be the next Stan Lee. I wanted to create a comic universe. I wanted to do all these things, and like I said, just was shitty at following actual storytelling at the time. I eventually got better, but I still want to tell stories. If you did tune in last night, and there weren't many people, so I know they didn't. My goal here is to, like I said, I'm talking about my sleep habits now, like how bad they are, and one of the things I try to focus on, in a sense, is I imagine myself laying on a bed of moss. Like, yes, the moss doesn't carry over quite like how I would like it, how I imagine it down in on Yakushima Island, the forest there, the cedar forest. There's literally photos where like the whole forest floor is covered in moss, and I fucking love that. And that's what I imagine myself when I'm trying to fall asleep. That's where I try to put myself mentally. But at least I'm sort of trying to like I can't get to Japan anytime soon. I don't speak the language in any way, and I just don't have the money. If I go to Japan, my family wants to go with me, so that's my wife, my kids. I'm imagining my oldest daughter would be included in that kids thing, and that means her boyfriend too, because so okay, that's a family of 6 minimum going to Japan, and that's expensive, especially because none of us have passports, so we don't have to get passports, and so that's not happening anytime soon. I know that. I feel like I've lost a piece in there somewhere. Hold on. Show you something like right in here. That's a little bit. Okay, and this is a little darker under here. Yeah, okay, there we go. I'm thicker down there. So this is storytelling. This is like, all right, I want to find out where's that thing. Anyway. Dude, this is literally the same exact thing they had last night. Did you not shuffle this again, you piece of shit? I just realized this is like playing the exact same line of songs. Yes, it is. It's absolutely doing everything exactly the same as it did the other night. Wow. You piece of shit. I said to shuffle, you anyway. Now it's like really getting me. Sorry. That bothers me when I want something mixed. Anyway. So anyway, my whole idea is, look, like I said, the artist should have a kind of a plan on what you're going for. In this case, I'm trying to tell a story about my sleep habits and all that nonsense, and using this as a symbol of what I picture, yada yada yada. But the viewer, in the end, I'm not there when somebody sees this. Usually, I would, I assume. If it gets to a gallery show, unless it's there for the opening, I'm not there, and I'm not likely to be able to talk to everybody and tell them, oh, this is what I was thinking for this piece, and this is what I was thinking for that piece, and this is what I was thinking for that piece. And even if I am, okay, let's imagine somehow, some way, this shit finds its way into a museum 100 years from now. Well, I'm certainly not there then. So, in the end, the viewer is going to have to finish this piece in their head. Just as they would for an abstract piece, they got to find their own little conversation here and figure it out. But at least, for me, again, representationally, I feel like at least you and I are starting to talk. If you're the viewer 100 years from now, or you're not listening to me at this point, you're just kind of, oh, look, it's a bunch of tree roots covered in moss. And hell, the black and white, you can't even tell that right now because I'm only half-assing the moss area. So I'm going to do that all in brushstroke, so I don't give a shit right now. But, like I said, if you're 100 years from now has no idea what the hell I was thinking when I was doing this, or, has anything to hear about my sleep issues or any garbage. They just see, okay, well, why is he talking about these trees? What does this mean to me? I feel like this, if this goes to plan, this will have a harmony of a lot of greens. I'm going to go, actually, a little more red than the photo here shows, just to make it a little more contrast, and a little more popping in the ground clutter. We're going to have some violets and some blues as well up here. So there's going to be a lot of cool colors here, and actually there's going to be a lot of more warm colors in the ground area. So the person may be looking at this solely as a, experimental, experiment in color, or and complementary colors and bouncing them back and forth. They may look at it entirely as a sample of brushstroke, and there's a million different ways that somebody not aware of my mental history of this piece could complete it. So, and that's to me what always is the real kicker for pieces. That's what the ones I always like the most, is that, all right, I can look at a Monet or a Cezanne, Delacroix, any of these guys, I have no idea what their thoughts were at the time. I purposely don't look for it. But, alright, I got water lilies by a Japanese bridge. Okay, I got somewhere to start to talk to them, obviously for my master, I've got, that's a little different because I have a lot of knowledge of him, but, for me and Vincent, it's a little different, but still, it's I may not be 100% sure of what he said to Theo, or Teo, I'll say it right. What he said in the letters to him, or, but I got a starting point with his, with the sunflowers, or with the, the bedroom, whatever, pick your painting. It's all about storytelling. This is not as good an example as I had, like I said, of my bridge when I did the first stream. Where I said if I put a person on that bridge, looking out in the distance, past where the viewer would be, now you got questions. What's he looking at? Or as I used the lovely, mature example, then I said, maybe he's watching two hippos fuck. I have no idea what he's looking at. That's your head, or my distorted head, whatever. It's amazing what a little bit of a, when you're starting with something again. I'll tell you a great one. Here's a great example of something that's representational, that works as a storytelling element, because it forces the viewer to see themselves in a weird way. It's almost abstraction, but it works so well. Georgia O'Keeffe. When someone asked Georgia O'Keeffe about why she paints flowers like vaginas, she goes, I don't paint them as vaginas. You do that. It's fucking brilliant. I don't remember the exact quote. I'm not saying the words exactly right, but it's basically, she was just like, I'm just painting flowers in the way you haven't seen them. You're making the rest of it up. Brilliant. And that's a conversation between the artist and the viewer. That, you're kind of having a chance. I had my plan. You found something else. all kinds of love. Alright, we're just about ready to spray, I think. I mean, this, again, it's a lot of ground clutter. And the ground clutter, I'm not going to be 100% on, like, I gotta make it look like this piece here. You know? A couple of big spots, but even then, I don't think I'm going to be too tight on. What's this guy here? He's kind of cool. I like him. This little piece of bark here, it's just like hanging out. Goes into that leaf. It's right in at the corner there. Oh yeah, one more thing, just you know, not that anybody really pays too much attention to my schedule, but I will not be here streaming on Wednesday. Like I said, I just want to reiterate that my daughter's getting inducted into an honor society and at her college, and I need to go, so won't be there for that. So the next stream will be Thursday night, and there's like a leaf coming off the side that we can focus on a little bit. An empty bottle of gin. I'm going to darken it too, just so I know that that's not part of this leaf, you know. Sure, I know where my leaves are and where. Into myself, there's got to be a better way. Take away, take away, take away this ball and chain. It's on me, and I'm tired, and I can't take any more pain. Take away, take away. Alright, yeah, I think we're good for that. We're gonna go spray. Yeah, you know what? We're gonna stop that. Ah, shit, because I gotta move the spray. So, you know what? I'll spray off camera. So, I'm gonna put this, fixing it on here. I'm not gonna worry about putting color on, because again, if I start to put color on here, it's just gonna literally wash everything off, because it's gonna get mixed in there. So, I gotta put the fixing on first. So, Alexa, pause. And actually, we're gonna try to get that synced up. Cool. Alexa, set your volume for 8. Alright, so this is one of my favorite parts from Mallrats, and it's a little weird. I'm going to say this again. I was a little late in the Kevin Smith game. A lot of my friends had seen it in high school. You know, I'd seen Clerks and I saw Mallrats when it first came out. And I actually did not see Mallrats until after my ex-wife and I had separated. And it's actually this kind of thing that was used to get Brody to figure out he should go fight for his girl. That actually made me figure out that I wasn't going to fight for my ex-wife. So it's a little weirdly, you know, yeah, imbalanced, but it's a great scene. Hopefully this comes across. That's not loud enough. Hold on. Alexa, set your volume for 10.
Actually, I was just looking at this little pink number over here.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of nice. They look happy, don't they?
What, the bras?
No, the couple. They look happy.
I guess, as far as couples go.
You know, it reminds me of an issue of Spider-Man I did when Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy went lingerie shopping. Of course, the Green Goblin showed up, and he pumpkin bombed the hell out of the place. But aside from that, it's pretty much the same thing.
Oh my God. Holy shit! Aren't you?
Oh, Stanley. Hi.
The Fantastic Four, Reed Richards. Can his whole body stretch? I mean, every part, you know, like his...
I know what you mean. We never really tackled stuff like that in the old days. I mean, what with the comic book code and all.
I can't believe I'm standing here talking to you. You're responsible for the greats. Let's do the list. Spider-Man.
Guilty.
The Incredible Hulk.
Afraid so.
Oh man, this is so cool. The X-Men.
Now that you mention it.
Shit, man, you are a god.
Hey, look at that couple. Boy, they sure seem to be in love, huh?
You know, what's with that? That's the second time you've commented on couples in love.
Well, I like that sort of thing. Tell me, do you have a girlfriend, Brody?
Had one. We just broke up. The Thing. Is this dork made of orange rock like the rest of his body?
It's a superhero secret. Tell me, Brody, why did you and your girlfriend break up?
She was a pain in the ass. She wanted me to be this typical boyfriend guy. Said I was too into my own world, comics and all.
Yeah, I can relate. There was a time when it was all about comics for me, you know? I had a girl probably the same as yours. She always complained that I spent too much time with my own comics, and eventually we broke up.
See, what did she know? Here you are now, a legend in the field. Probably had a slew of women since her, am I right?
Oh, lots of women. Jagger and me, we had a running contest to see who had the most. Matter of fact, last time I looked, I was way ahead.
Damn, that's hot!
But I never forgot that girl.
Well, did you ever get back together with her?
One day I found out she got married. I had blown it. I had missed my window.
Oh, hey. Well, what'd you do?
I went on with my life. I created some special new superheroes. They were characters that reflected my own heartbreak and my own regrets.
How so?
Dr. Doom wears body armor to conceal his own mangled form, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that was me beneath the armor. The Hulk. A normal guy 1 minute, a rage of emotions the next. Just like me when I thought about what I'd given up.
So you created each character as a way to deal with your one big regret.
Yeah, the girl that got away. Look, do yourself a favor, Brody. Don't wait, because all the money, all the women, even all the comic books in the world, they can't substitute for that one person.
I don't know, all the comics in the world.
Trust me, true believer. Well, good talking to you.
Keep up all the good work.
You keep reading them. I'll keep writing them.
Hey, Stan,
Yeah,
she really meant that much to you?
Brody, I'd give it all up. All of it. For just one more day with her. Take care.
Stan.
Hi. Hey, you know, I think he bought it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What kind of story did you give him?
Oh, it was the Vulture soliloquy, you know, from the Spider-Man anniversary issue. Love, be a vulture tonight. Yeah.
Well, I can't thank you enough.
Oh, forget it. But you know, I think you ought to get him some help. He seems to be really hung up on superhero sex organs. But he'll outgrow it. Okay.
Oh, Mr. Lee.
Yeah.
Excelsior.
Oh, you got that right. See ya.
Anyway, it's one of my favorites. So, that'll be it for tonight. I gotta go spray this thing down. So, Stan, rest in peace, my man. You've earned your rest. So, I'd say I'd do a raid like I always try to close, but I don't see the button here anymore. And, a little teary-eyed right now, so I'm gonna call it close. So, Thursday night, the next stream. Catch you later, guys.